Will the Executive Director please call the roll?
Nico Gold,
Present.
Ray Pearl,
Present.
Marianne Riggins,
Here.
Alicia Weintraub,
Here.
President Sylvester.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you so much. We'll now move on to the approval of the agenda. Does anyone have any changes they would like to make to the agenda? If not, do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Yes, Alicia.
Oh, Nico, you want to go?
No, Alicia, you take this.
Okay, we would like to know if we could if we can add an action item for the COG to provide direction on the Calabasas landfill based on lack of information from county, state, and federal partners to confirm if the debris being dumped is hazardous, lack of information regarding the routes coming over the canyons, which would impact Calabasas, Malibu, Agoura, possibly even Westlake, and a slew of other reasons. So we wanted to know if the COG would be interested in considering this as an action item.
Yeah,
Nico,
which
do you
is
want to add?
5B, right? On our agenda. So
Correct.
it's an informational item at the moment, and we'd like to hear from our agency partners and then decide what we want to do as a unit.
Right, so are you seconding the motion?
Yes, I'm seconding it.
Okay, can we take a roll call?
Nico Gold,
Aye.
Ray Pearl,
Aye.
Marianne Riggins,
Yes.
Alicia Weintraub,
Yes.
President Sylvester.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0, so it becomes an action item under the Brown Act.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I will go back. Does anyone have any change? Well, we've made the change. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda, moving item number, the information item to an action item B?
So move.
Second.
Can we have a roll, please?
Nico Gold,
Aye.
Ray Pearl,
Aye.
Marianne Riggins,
Yes.
Alicia Weintraub,
Yes.
President Sylvester.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. We're now moving on to the public comment period. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the governing board? Terry, have you received any public comments electronically?
I have not.
Since we have no public comments, we will go to item number 4, the consent calendar. Consent calendar items will be approved in one motion unless removed for separate discussion or action. Would anyone like to remove an item from the consent calendar? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Will the Executive Director call the roll?
Nico Gold,
Aye.
Ray Pearl,
Aye.
Marianne Riggins,
Yes.
Alicia Weintraub,
Yes.
President Sylvester.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. In our information item A, Mr. Slayton had a family emergency and he will present the Superior Court update at our next meeting. Now I would like to ask if everybody agrees, I think, do we need to take a roll call, Terry, to move up action item B to now so we can have all our guests speak?
Yes.
I'm sure
Yes.
they have other busy things to do.
Yes.
Do we need a roll call? Getting interference from somebody. Can you make sure you're muted? Thanks.
I got it.
Thanks, Terry. Do we need to do a roll call to move up that action item?
No.
Okay, so let us go straight to our action item update on the Palisades fire debris removal. We have representatives from various county, state, and federal agencies who have asked to provide the latest information as it relates to the debris removal plan and the Calabasas landfill. I would first like to introduce Mark McCalman from FEMA to give us an overview, and then I will have him call on other representatives.
Thank you, President Sylvester. Good morning, council members. My name is Mark McCalman. I'm Intergovernmental Affairs with FEMA. My role is to be the single point of contact for elected officials and appointed officials. I've been assigned to the Palisades side of the recovery. It's my privilege to just say that this overall situation, to acknowledge the loss of individuals and the county that you all have suffered. Also, that there are logistical and coordination challenges faced by a recovery of this scope and scale. FEMA's priority in wildfire recovery is ensuring that fire-related debris is removed efficiently and in a way that protects public health and safety. I'd just like to introduce a few of the folks who we've had on the call, we brought on the call to join today. We have with FEMA, we have Brandy Richard Thompson, who is Public Information Officer. We also have from Army Corps, both Colonel Saucer and Colonel Svensson. And I can also see there on the state side, good to see Eli Owen from Cal OES. So I'm going to just wanted to do those introductions and turn that over back to you, President Sylvester.
Thank you very much. Well, I think what we want to hear is from everybody how the Calabasas landfill is a Class 3 landfill that has been limited to household non-toxic waste since 1980. All hazardous waste are taken out of state. And we need reassurances that this is going to happen. The community is scared. They feel that they've been misled as to what is coming to the landfill. So what we need from you is clarification that no toxic waste is going to be coming to the landfill. And if you could explain to us how it is being monitored before it comes to the landfill to make sure that happens, and from the landfill, the Los Angeles Public Works over there, what assurities can you give the community that it's going to be monitored when it arrives and that there's going to be ongoing monitoring to make sure that there are no repercussions a year from now, 5 years from now, etc. So I don't know who would like to speak first on those matters.
Yeah, good morning. This is
One
Colonel.
second,
Yep.
Colonel. This is Director Mark Pastrella with Los Angeles County Public Works. Thank you for having us involved this morning. The representation with respect to the landfill and its authorities to receive the materials that are planned to be taken there are under the authority of the state of California, specifically Cal Recycle. Is there a representative of Cal Recycle on the call this morning?
I see Wes Minderman as.
Okay. I would defer those questions specifically to Cal Recycle.
So good morning, Madam President and members of the board. Thank you, Mark. My name is Wes Minderman. I'm the chief of the engineering support branch here at Cal Recycle. And, I was asked to come on here to answer any questions that you may have regarding disposal sites and to support the debris removal efforts here. So you've asked a pretty broad question about that does not only include disposal, but also includes the overall cleanup effort and operation in the field. So I don't know, Colonel Svensson, if you want to describe the debris removal in the field and what actions are taken to remove hazardous waste and asbestos and address those concerns and the wet method that you're using. And then maybe after you maybe have a discussion on that, I can answer how the waste is handled at the landfill and how these landfills are designated to take this debris. Would that make sense? Alicia, I see you have your hand up.
I just had a question since
Sure.
Who officially approved the Calabasas landfill to be used for debris removal, and who officially confirmed the increase of hours and the increase of tonnage, and who is approving the routes because no one in our community has been notified of the route. So those are my questions, because everyone keeps pointing to Cal Recycle. So since you're on, I thought we would take this opportunity to see if we can get some answers.
No problem. You've asked kind of a multi-pronged question there. I can answer parts of that. All right. The routing and the specific operation questions, I would defer maybe to Colonel Swenson. But with respect to these facilities, right, and how this debris is accepted at these facilities and how these facilities are approved regulatorily to accept this material is a good question. So when we have these disasters, and I've been involved in disasters throughout California since about 2007, off and on in various roles. But what happens is, we have these disasters. There's what we call disaster-related debris. Because of the magnitude of the disaster, there are certain things that are done. Class 3 landfills are regulated by a number of different agencies. They include the local air pollution control district, what we call the local enforcement agency, which is the LA County Department of Public Health. And then there's also the Regional Water Quality Control Board. The agencies that designate waste in California, that specify what is hazardous and what is non-hazardous, are the Department of Toxic Substances Control and the Regional Water and the State Water Resources Control Board. When these disasters happen, there is a special order that the State Water Board has issued on how to handle disaster-related debris. And the debris is classified under that order as disaster-related debris and not otherwise specified. So that's how the waste is classified. The Water Board has very, very strict requirements on what type of landfills can accept this material and what type of cells, when I say cells, I mean waste management units, that the debris can go into. They have to be modern design cells with composite liners to protect water quality. And so the Water Board will designate that a specific facility can take this material if they meet these requirements and the material is handled in very, very specific prescriptive ways. So generally, it's the Water Board that designates that a facility can take the material, but the local enforcement agency and the Water Board regulate those facilities. And with respect to your question about daily tonnage and vehicles per day, usually that is the local enforcement agency under the solid waste facility permit that regulates that, along with the local planning agency under what we call the conditional use permit. So it's a very complicated answer, and I apologize for it being so long-winded and complicated. But with respect to who can take the type of waste, it's usually the Regional Water Quality Control Board facilities under very, very specific requirements. With respect to weightages for tonnage or hours of operation or truck traffic, that's usually regulated by the local enforcement agency and the local planning agency under the conditional use permit. And Alicia, you had I apologize, you had another question about maybe the operation in the field and
Well, I guess it was just, my point is, with all those parties that you just mentioned, no one consulted the local community.
I understand.
And at our council meeting last Wednesday night, that was the first time that we learned that debris would actually be arriving on Monday morning. And all the local enforcement agency, Cal Recycle, DTSC, no one has consulted the local communities. So we've really been in the dark about this whole process which has made our residents very fearful of what's actually being dumped there.
That's a very valid concern, and I hear what you're saying.
Thank you.
I would also add that it is the state agencies that say facilities may accept the material with respect to the specific facilities that the operation is going to use. That is usually an operational question for the people in the field.
And can you clarify, I was told yesterday by Supervisor Horvath that no waste has actually been moved into the Calabasas landfill from the Palisades fire. Is that correct?
Penny, I don't have that's an operational question. I would not have the answer to that.
Hi, my name is Gwen Tantoko. I'm the site engineer here at the Calabasas landfill, and I can probably speak to that. We have been receiving it's more road clearance from LA County Department of Public Works and City of Malibu. There has not been any fire debris from any residences or of this, what we're talking about, the fire disaster. So it's just primarily dirt road clearance.
LA
And-
LA County Public Works, this is Director of Public Works, has been delivering, as we're authorized to do, mud and debris flow materials related to the rain event, but we have not been delivering any fire or ash debris as an agency to Calabasas landfill.
Okay, so does that mud and debris from the rain, is that runoff from the residential area?
It's primarily the materials. Well, yeah, I'm sure it contains some vegetative ash. We did in the Palisades, we weren't bringing that material there. We're talking about from the Malibu area, Las Flores Canyon area, and so clearing roads in the Malibu area, essentially unincorporated areas of mud and debris off hillsides that have a majority of them have been burned. And so, and this is a regular routine scenario for us in mud and debris flow events, is we utilize Calabasas landfill as an alternate site for us to dispose of that mud and debris, and it's not classified as toxic or somehow hazardous material.
So just to clarify for the public, what is come in so far has no toxic materials in it. It's just the mud and debris. Correct?
It's very difficult because you're using the word toxic, and there's a very specific definition of that. So I'm not going to use the word toxic. We have not delivered anything, to our knowledge, that's hazardous or non-compliant with the Calabasas landfill requirements. So, this is, and for your council, this is something we've been doing at Calabasas for years. It is not something new.
Yeah, but you didn't do it after fires, right?
We've done it after every fire. Yes. After every fire where there has been debris in the street and then a rainfall occurred.
And do you test that?
For instance, in Woolsey, we aren't required to test it.
You're not required to test
No,
it. So
we're
you
not
just
required
based
to
on where
test
you
it.
found it, like you found the debris on the street, and it could have been a runoff from a fire
It's
after
in
rain.
it's in the waste shed. It is materials that are blocking the roadways, and we are authorized to move that material to Calabasas landfill.
But it could be toxic, possibly, because no one tests it.
I have a question. Is the landfill only accepting ash, or is it also accepting chimneys, foundations, metals from fire damaged properties?
Who would like to take that?
Well, this is Colonel Eric Swenson, Army Corps of Engineers.
Actually, Colonel, County Sanitation needs to answer that question.
So, hello.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Mark Ravilla. I am the department head for LA County Sanitation Districts, our solid waste department. In regards to your question, do we accept, I think you had mentioned chimneys or burnt material associated with the house. So the way that the sanitation districts is operating that facility is that we're receiving the material that's been directed to us from the Army Corps of Engineers, right, that has been deemed to be non-hazardous. My understanding is that materials such as the larger metals or concrete, they're being sent to different facilities in an effort to increase the recycling that is associated from this fire. But for the most part, we are receiving material that's already been deemed as non-hazardous and includes a certificate from the respective agencies in their effort to help in this cleanup.
I was told that if it's a private contractor, they don't have that certificate. Is that accurate?
That's my understanding. Yes, they do. They don't have that certificate. And at this point, we are not receiving anything from these entities without a certificate for fire debris.
Maybe Gwen can comment, because on the Calabasas landfill website, it talks about you can pay an additional fee if you don't have a certificate for hazardous material.
We're going to clean that language up, because what we're trying to say, and obviously we didn't do it very clearly, is that what we're saying is that if you brought material over there to the site and it was identified as fire debris and it didn't include certificate, it's not that you can pay an additional amount of money for disposal. What we're saying is you're going to be fined an additional $500, and then we're going to have to send it off to the appropriate facility. That's what we're intending to say with that.
I don't want to monopolize the call, but I have so many more questions, so I'll let the rest of my colleagues speak.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to ask a question for the representatives?
I do. Like, I just want to understand, is fire waste considered toxic waste? Or fire debris, however you call it?
I'll take that question, Aniko. We've been involved in a number of these throughout. So look, how the regulatory agencies characterize this is disaster related debris. How I prefer to describe it to people is it is a waste that definitely has some hazardous constituents in it. So when we talk about hazardous waste, that is a waste disposal classification. If we talk about a toxic waste, then we're talking about stuff that might be dangerous to public health and the environment. So there certainly are hazardous constituents in that waste. You can see the health advisories for the people returning to the community. You'll also see workers in what we call personal protective equipment as they're loading out that material as a part of a worker health and safety. So, I mean, I guess the gist of your question does that material pose some sort of hazard? It certainly does. And as we've advised people going back, you should take precautions. We're also going to protect our worker, but as part of the operation, there's also protections for the community where the debris removal is occurring, the community where the trucks are passing through, and the communities where the disposal sites are located. So these operations are designed to try to minimize those risks to all of those communities as we conduct this operation to get this material off the ground as quickly as possible.
When you get it off the ground, there's no way to test every single particle to make sure that whatever is loaded on a truck has no toxic waste.
Correct.
In it, right? Like, there's no absolute here. It's just
yeah. There are no absolutes, but I would tell you this, that the operation that is planned here has been used since 2007, and every effort is made to remove the household hazardous waste or the discrete hazardous waste, the asbestos containing waste, and to take that ash and debris as safely as possible to a proper disposal site to facilitate the recovery and get that material out of the environment and out of the communities as quickly and safely as possible.
So that's why it shouldn't come to Calabasas. That's exactly why. Because we're not going to be able to make sure 100% that it will not be toxic waste included in those debris. And there's no way to know. There's no way to know. And things will get in there that we can't have at the Calabasas landfill.
Nico, I hear what you're saying. I would just say that every reasonable measure to protect the communities, whether it be the community where the disposal site is located, the community where the truck is going through, or the community where the disaster affected is being taken.
Wes, is the Cal Recycle part of the local enforcement agency?
No. Cal Recycle, that's kind of our public name. Our true name is the Department of Resources, Recycling, and Recovery. We are a department under Cal EPA.
Okay.
And so we regulate solid waste disposal in the state, and part of that is our local enforcement agency partners who regulate the solid waste laws in their local jurisdiction. And that is the Department of Public Health in LA.
And who on this call can comment on what routes are being used to bring this debris to the Calabasas landfill?
I would just say Cal Recycle has no no decision-making part of routes that are going to the landfills as part of the operation.
Who on this call can answer that? So we have
Good morning. Good morning. This is Colonel Eric Swinson from the Army Corps of Engineers. I'm the Recovery Field Office Commander here for the Corps' operation for both the Eaton and Palisades fire impacted areas and the recovery of the private property debris that's currently in an uncontrolled environment on about just shy of 14,000 parcels around both communities and needs to get into a controlled environment. So to answer your question about haul routes, we work with our federal, we have a federal contract with a prime contractor, a large contractor here, California-based contractor with vast experience in fire debris missions. And we basically look at the location of the parcel and the location of California recycled permitted landfills that can accept the various waste streams that we pull off of a parcel. And we look to get those individual waste streams, whether it is clean concrete, whether it is green waste, whether it is recyclable metal, or whether it's fire ash and debris, and we get that from a local road to a county road to a state road to a federal highway to one of the permitted landfills that the Cal Recycle is permitted to take fire ash and debris, as was just mentioned from the representative from Cal Recycle. So that's the method that we use.
Right, but that's not my question. My question is, what routes are being used? Our canyons are not meant for this. And that's the only way to get from Malibu to Calabasas is through the canyons. That's the only direct route. No one has consulted, to my knowledge, Malibu. 100% nobody has consulted Calabasas. And I don't believe any of the other cities on this call. We don't have the answers that we need to deliver this debris to a landfill that is adjacent to a park, to schools and residents. We don't have the answers. And no one on this call is giving us the confidence that we need. Nobody. Like simple questions and simple answers. That's what we need.
I'm going to give you some simple answers. We would use the same routes that the municipal garbage trucks would use to get from parcels in these communities to a permitted landfill to take that type of debris. It is in some ways a shortest path problem that we can get there safely so that we can get the truck back to take the next load of fire ash and debris or concrete or whatever the material is so that we can get this mission done. But we're operating under a governor's proclamation. We have, as I said, something short of 14,000 parcels. The EPA, we're in close partnership with the EPA as they do their mission to get the household hazardous materials as quickly and safely as possible collected, containerized, and in a proper debris stream. They have their own process. And then I come in, my organization comes in behind, and we're looking to take, as I said, green waste, recyclable metals, clean concrete. If we find asbestos, we test every property for asbestos. If we find asbestos containing materials, we have a separate contractor who is trained in removing asbestos containing materials, and that gets moved to a separate landfill that is permitted to take asbestos containing materials. And then we come back in and we remove the fire ash and debris and 6 inches of topsoil. Everyone's worried about health. The Army Corps of Engineers is also worried about health. If you go down to an impacted area, you will see our crews. If they're inside the ash footprint, they will have on special personal protective equipment. That is because these individual crews will be in thousands of locations, and we want to ensure their health. We also collect fire ash and debris using what we call the wet method. The wet method means that we are spraying the entire site down before we start. And as an excavator goes to make a scoop of fire ash and debris or concrete or whatever, we have hoses that are spraying water on it. This ensures that we keep any dust that could get airborne on the ground. We scoop it, we put it into a truck bed that has a thick black plastic liner in it. When that truck is full, we fold the liner down on top of the fire ash and debris, we tuck it in, and then we put the truck's tarp, which is on every truck, on top of that to seal all of that fire ash and debris inside that container. And that fire ash and debris is going to still be moist. We're then going to get it as quickly as we can on a local, county, state, and federal highway till we get to the closest landfill that is permitted by California State to receive that category of debris. And then we were going to drop it. The landfills use a similar wet method process to receive that material. And then we were going to bring that truck back to the site, and we were going to load it again, because that is what's going to get this mission done as quickly and safely as possible, so that we can leave and we can allow these survivors and the community, the greater community, to heal from the devastating wildfires of January 2025.
Ray, you have your hand up.
So I want to, and I apologize to Alicia, who I know is knee deep in this in a way that I am not. But Mark, if you could just not go quite yet, I'd appreciate it. This is probably directed at you. The five of us, and every one of the councils we represent, we're lay people. We represent our community. We are not fire disaster cleanup experts. There's professionals on here, and there's colonels on here. There's the director of public works on here. You all have reached the pinnacle of your career knowing what the hell you're doing. What I can tell you is, I want to echo what Alicia said. There is a crisis in communication to our communities. So all the expertise that's here, the failure to inform is inflaming elected officials in the region, because candidly, you've left us holding the bag. We don't have the information to give comfort to our residents. So what they're doing is acting on fear. I think that's a very normal human reaction. And this was sprung on, I mean, I'm in Westlake Village, not Calabasas, but my gosh, to hear that there has been 0% communication with the city of Calabasas, I can't imagine that is acceptable to any of us. Moving beyond that, because I think we'd probably all agree that communication could be better. I have some questions that are slightly different, and that is, we haven't touched on the Woolsey fire. Where did the toxic waste go from the Woolsey fire? And granted, much different in scope and scale, but still, Malibu had a huge amount of damage. Westlake, Agoura, where did that go? Secondly, where else is toxic material going from the Palisades and Eaton fire? And third, what alternatives have been considered? Why Calabasas? Why Irwindale? Why not out of state? Why not other places? So I would really appreciate understanding that, so that we can better communicate to our residents. And, poor Alicia and her colleagues getting hammered because they simply don't have information. And I know you all are trying, but I don't feel like I'm getting a ton of it here either.
Thank you for the a really well spoken and really succinct concerns that you expressed. And I too share Colonel's, and I think it was a gentleman from Cal Recycle who mentioned that, in fact, we need to acknowledge that the communication could be better. And certainly under the unprecedented desire to move as quickly as possible, there have probably been some missed opportunities for me to have a communication directly with all of you. And I think this week we need to achieve the highest level of communication we can with you, and these meetings will help. I believe they need to be held in an organized way where we know we're not having issues with respect to representation, and having all the right representatives there, as you've asked. I think this meeting was put together rapidly on Thursday or Friday by the board office, and I absolutely appreciate Supervisor Horvath's leadership and her demand that we communicate with you all as clearly as possible. The question of Woolsey, and again, we're being very careful about the language you use, and I get it. The term toxic. The reason that we're avoiding or not trying to use that word is because it conveys a certain it causes fear in community. It isn't necessarily accurate about the materials that we're dealing with. So you'll hear me using the word hazardous materials. I am purposely avoiding the word toxic for specific reasons, but hazardous materials are, of course, as much concern as anything you would consider toxic. I know they get used interchangeably. The hazardous materials in the Woolsey were not conveyed to Calabasas landfill. However, class 3 materials approved for that disposal, namely fire, ash, and debris, were conveyed to Calabasas landfill under the same authorities that you're asking about today, with same set of regulatory requirements, separated by a separate under a project conducted by the state of California in coordination with LA County Public Works representing the area. The difference between this effort and the Woolsey is that we have the federal government involved in the Army Corps of Engineers acting as the contractor, if you will, to move the materials from, as was stated, an uncontrolled condition to a controlled condition. But everything else besides this is the same. It is the same scenario we had in Woolsey, where we're separating recyclables, we're separating materials, household hazardous materials from the materials, we're separating asbestos from the materials, and then moving those materials to landfills or locations that are approved for such deposit. And so that's the basics of it. That's what's going on. That's what happened at Woolsey, and that's what's happening here as well. We have an extraordinary event also, that we have a lot more homes destroyed in the Palisades, which should give everyone concern for a lot of different reasons. Yes, we have more material than we had in Woolsey. And the Corps is considering not just Calabasas, but other landfills in the area. And they can talk to you about why Calabasas and not Nevada. Colonel can talk to you about that. I think this conversation needs to continue. I'd like to have it in a more controlled environment, to be honest with you. I'd like to have it like maybe even in person so that we can sit down with you, and I'm available to have that conversation. I will admit the meeting caught me a little off guard. I had intended to meet with you all, but I didn't know that this was happening this morning. So I jumped in the meeting just so you had it coming from the top of the department. I do need to go to an emergency management meeting right now. But I'm happy I have like 5 more minutes. So I don't know if I fully answered your question, but I want you to know that the County of Los Angeles, specifically the Supervisor Horvath's office, is absolutely as concerned as you are, and wanting to make sure we have all the answers so that you can properly respond to the constituents of the area. It is my home area, as many of you know. I started my career in the Calabasas area and the Malibu, so I'm very familiar with all of you and your communities. And I again want to acknowledge I understand why people are concerned, and I want to make sure we can give you all the information necessary so that the community understands what we're doing. And we need to do a better job of that right now. The way to do that is to continue to have these conversations, right now and going forward. As many of you may or may not know, I did continue the item that was on our agenda for a week. That item was to expand request by County Sand to expand the operating hours, the daily limits, and the waste shed related to Calabasas, Sunshine, and Antelope Valley landfills.
So it sounds to me like nothing has come in yet, correct, to the landfill. So can we be assured that nothing will come in until we've all sat down and had all our questions and concerns answered?
Penny, just to be clear, once again, I think Gwen had spoken to this earlier, right? There's 2 kind of classifications of the material that's being brought into the site. One is just kind of disaster related, which is not burnt material, right? This is like roadway cleanup, green waste that is associated with kind of that first initial days after cleanup to kind of restore our communities. That material has already been brought into this site. And then there's this kind of the secondary material, the fire debris, things that appeared to have been burnt, the ash, those things are not being accepted until we kind of get all these issues resolved, at least from my understanding. And we're waiting for, all this clarification from the different communities before we receive that at the Calabasas landfill.
So
I can speak to the debris related to mud and debris flow. I will put a pause on that. LA County does control that material. I will put a pause on that for the time being.
Wait, can you say that one more time just to make sure we hear it all clearly?
The material that's being brought there from LA County Public Works, and it's specifically road debris, rock debris, mud. It's landslide material, by the way. We're having a ton of as you know, in our mountains there, we get unstable conditions during rain events. Some of it may contain vegetation that's been burned or charred. Most of it, the majority of it, I can tell you because I actually inspected this being stored up on Canaan right now. We will hold that and we'll continue to stockpile it, until next Tuesday. But I do want to caution you that we only have so much area we can actually stockpile it in. There's other regulatory requirements about the roadway safety that I have to meet. So I'll put a pause on it because I do think it can be confusing to community about which is which, and we don't want to create more confusion. So out of a complete, in the interest of cutting down the confusion and not having you guys to decide which is which, I'll put a pause today to our deliveries of those materials to the landfill. That's the portion I control. The other portion,
debris from the homes.
That's not a portion I control. So we'll have the Corps talk about that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And when can we schedule a meeting for all of us to sit down with you in person?
I'm happy to have it in person or by Teams if we can't all get together, because I know everybody's everywhere right now. Anytime this week, my scheduler I'll get my scheduler involved. Is there a point of contact that we should be contacting on this?
Should we be going through Supervisor Horvath's office, Daniel? What do you?
I would recommend you go through my office.
Okay, through your office.
Yes.
And can we have all the representatives, officials that are on this call, as many as possible, or else that they can zoom in, but we can be in person?
We'd be happy to organize those entities.
Okay, great. And where would that take place? Could we do it locally within our,
If I actually thinking it through, that we're going to need to use this format to do it, because given the number of us involved and what's going on right now, we're still in response mode to the mud and debris flow situation as well as fire. So I know people are all over. But of course, one of the things, I do want to caution is if the cities are being represented by council, that we need also to bring our council to those meetings. I think everyone knows that has to happen in these scenarios where there's either potential litigation or there's actually litigation that's commenced. I just want to put that out there. There is a county lawyer is on the line with us now for that reason. So back to the meeting, we can do that at any time. We want to commence those very quickly. Can be as early as tomorrow morning. We can just start right into it. This is my focus right now, 100%. It's critical path. It's critical path to the timely removal and safe disposal of the material. Our county health would tell you too that the longer the material remains in this state of condition of uncontrolled, the greater the exposure to community, not only right there, but around the area, is not something that any of us want, and I know you feel the same way. So we need to get to this issue. We need to resolve this issue, and we're motivated. So being motivated, we're happy to meet with you at any time. And again, I'd like to take the lead in organizing the parties that need to be involved in the conversation.
I think that would be great if you could set it all up. So let me ask my COG representatives.
Penny, if I may, just briefly, real quick, I just wanted to follow up with what Mark was saying, and I appreciate Mark making that commitment that there will be no county-related material being brought to the site. But as the landfill operator, right, there are cities that are outside of Mark's jurisdiction,
Yes.
that are outside of his control, that may still bring this material to the facilities, right? So I'm saying that as the operator of the site on behalf of the county, right, because we are a public entity and we're receiving this material, assuming it is acceptable for disaster. We're not receiving any fire debris, but if it's disaster related, once again, that kind of that roadway type cleanup material, because it is a public facility, if it meets the requirements of the facilities from the different cities that are within the waste shed, we're still accepting it at this point, just because we haven't received any direct guidance not to receive it, because it's still within our permit for the site.
Right. So when you say cities, you're talking about the cities of Malibu?
Like say City of Malibu, for as an example, they're doing roadway cleanup. You've probably seen some of those videos that occurred over the weekend because of the rains, right? Those may be out of Public Works' jurisdiction or over their responsibility, yet they're bringing it to a site similar to Calabasas, which is the closest facility to these disaster areas. And so they're bringing it to the site. So I think Mark has made that guidance that he's not going to be bringing anything from Public Works control, but as the operator of the landfill, we're going to do our part to ensure that what we're receiving is compliant with the permits that we have for the site. Even if it is kind of disaster related, we're going to take it, but we're not receiving any fire. There is that distinction that I want to make clear to the group here.
Well, I think that's a big distinction. I have two hands raised. Daniel.
Yes, Director, if you could please just, if I can send you an email and to your scheduler as well, if you can just include myself, Emily, and Aaron in that meeting too, we'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Daniel. I wasn't aware you're on. And yes, if you could get the contact information for us, and then during this meeting, and then we will take it from there in terms of organizing for the future meetings.
Understood. And who's your scheduler?
Terry Ortega.
Terry Ortega. Okay, thank you.
Brandy, did you have?
Yes, so to Councilman Pearl's point about communication, it would be really helpful because we have so many agencies who are a part of this debris removal mission. I am from FEMA, and we have Cal OES, and we have all these state and local agencies that you all could potentially give us a list of all of the questions that you have for us, so that we can work together to get those answers prepared, so that by the time we have this meeting again, we're giving you specifically the information that you're asking for, because there are just so many people involved. It would just be helpful to us to be able to better support you in understanding what's going on.
I'm sure we can all do that.
If you don't mind, I'm going to excuse myself, but to that point by FEMA, and I appreciate you bringing that. We will conduct this through the county's Office of Emergency Management and our JIC. So I'm kind of elevating it, Daniel, to Kevin's group because they can corral all of the agencies that are involved here, and we have joint messaging going on already. So that would be helpful. So Daniel, I'll get with you on your point of contact for this, so that I also bring in potentially county health into the issue. I think they, as the LEA, need to also be involved in the communications with this group. So we're going to elevate this for the Las Virgenes-COG. We're going to elevate this from Public Works to our County Office of Emergency Management, and they can better represent the whole county and all of its departments. And also, we are in coordination. We are already in joint coordination and unified command with FEMA and the other agencies. So I think this truly would be where you get your solid, full answers. And as was reminded there, I don't control city roads, so I can't commit that cities wouldn't attempt to deliver, and they would have the right to deliver right now to Calabasas. So, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing the larger picture, and I want to involve the whole county family representation. So I'm going to move this to county OEM, Daniel, and I'll connect with you. That's Kevin McGowan's group. We'll connect with you on that, and then we'll reconvene. This doesn't change our availability. It just creates a more point for us, for the city, so they can have like everybody represented specifically who's involved in this, and not have it get one answer one place and an answer somewhere else. Okay. I apologize. I do need to go. I'm going actually to meet with that same group right now, but I will be back in touch with all of you very shortly.
Okay, great. And I've had a request for everyone to put their contact information in the chat. Marion, I see your hand raised, and then we'll go to Kelly.
Thanks. I have the one question I've got really has to do with the roadways. And at this time, I think Malibu Canyon's the only roadway between Malibu and Calabasas. Do we have an estimate of how many vehicles we expect? And as conditions improve, will that be spread out to some of the other roadways? And then the other question I had was, are there facilities in Ventura County that are being used for accepting of any of these debris?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that question. So obviously we focus on three things, right? We focus on risk and safety of our employees, safety of the public, and safety of the environment. Those underpin all the work we do here. Obviously, we're trying desperately to get this debris from an uncontrolled to a controlled environment. In terms of roads, we want to pick the best, safest route we can that gets us from the location of a parcel to the designated landfill that is permitted to receive it. And as more roads open up, we will seek to use additional routes, again, keeping in line with moving from local to county to state to federal highways, so that we can get these trucks to the final destination as safely and quickly as we can. We acknowledge that some of the canyon roads are narrow and windy, and we will appropriately size our vehicles to the conditions that we have to work on. Again, ultimately to protect not only my team's safety, but the safety of the public who also share these roads. We are well aware that traffic in these communities, either whether it's traffic caused by the fact that the roads are narrow and you can't put a lot of vehicles on them, or traffic that's resulted of freeways getting congested with just a large volume of traffic. We're very aware of those challenges, and we are constantly monitoring them. My contractor is constantly monitoring them, so we can find the best, safest route to get there that doesn't overwhelm the community. And I think you had one other question. What other landfills are we using? So we have about 17 different landfills and recycling centers that we've identified throughout this community throughout this region that are permitted to receive the various waste streams that we have to dispose of, or get into a recycling stream so that it can re-enter the supply chain, or re-enter in terms of green waste, re-enter the sort of the earth as a compostable material. And so I don't want the people on this call to think that all fire ash and debris is going to go to Calabasas. That is absolutely not the case. The parcels that are closest to Calabasas, where Calabasas, it makes the most sense from a public health and safety perspective. How can we get this fire ash and debris there as quickly as possible, safely as possible, and get that truck back to take another load? Then for those parcels, we would look to use Calabasas. But there are other sites that we are actively using right now, and as of this morning, we still have yet to take any fire ash and debris from the federal program to the Calabasas landfill. Obviously, we're hoping that changes. We want to use all of the permitted sites that are in this community, in this area, so that we can do what I said, which is to get this fire ash and debris off of the roads as quickly as possible. And I know I'm going long, but one more final comment before I take any other questions is I just want to remind people that there's a discussion. We have a two-phase operation here. EPA is specifically there to take the household hazardous materials, right? That's why they go quickly. They have 30 days to get all of the household hazardous materials, and they have their own debris streams and their own places that they dispose of those based on the type of material they're taking off. The Corps of Engineers comes in and takes the fire ash and debris, clean concrete, et cetera. But the fire ash and debris is really composed of sort of household material. It's the things that if it hadn't burned in the fire, if the owner, if it reached its useful life, the owner would put in their daily trash can, and it would be part of municipal waste and also go to a permitted landfill in the community, which may have been Calabasas or may be Calabasas landfill. So I just want to make sure that distinction, the whole purpose for us, for the federal government to come in and have the EPA work really quickly and safely to get the household hazardous materials, is so we can separate those from the household hazardous materials, separate those from the fire ash and debris that the Corps takes in phase 2. Over.
Marion, Wes Minderman from Cal Recycle. Regarding your question about Ventura County, the Simi Valley landfill has been at least regulatorily approved to take disaster-related debris. And I believe it is currently taking disaster-related debris from the disaster response currently going on in Ventura County. And I believe that's the only facility in Ventura County.
I did remember in my follow-up, Mike, on either your website or someone else's website, is there a description of all these different classes of waste that can be sent to these various facilities? Where can somebody go to find out this information and learn more about this?
Oh, that's a very good question, Marion. I would have to do some research. I would say, Cal Recycle Authority is generally over what we call, municipal solid waste, which is everything else other than hazardous waste. That's how it's usually defined. But let me see if I can research that and point you to a good place. Off the top of my head, I don't know one.
Thank you.
Kelly?
Related to Marianne's question and the scheduling of the meeting and list of who's going to be on the meeting, can someone, or perhaps this already exists, create a job chart, for lack of a better word? There are many agencies here, and as Mr. Pearl said, we are not experts in this field. There are a lot of you that are handling a lot of different things, which I, after listening to this meeting for an hour, am still not clear about who does what. So I'm looking for a who does what flow chart. If that is at all possible or already exists, that would be extremely helpful for the council and staff who are in these 5 cities. Thank you.
We've already started that work at FEMA. I don't know that we can drill all the way down into the county, but we will work with the JIC to get that done. So again, what will help me to start that process is just a list of your questions so that we can compile what we've already started with all of the folks who are responsible for answering those specific questions, and thereby be able to provide you with names, contact information, website of those folks who are responsible.
Thank you. That would be very helpful. Are there any more questions? Yes, Anika.
Yeah, I have a question. Is the Calabasas landfill fully lined? Because I heard that the Agoura side is not fully lined.
Yeah, so the Calabasas landfill is partially lined. There are portions of it that are unlined, and the material that would be brought, at least for this, whether it's disaster or the fire related, is going on the completely lined portion of the site.
Hi all, I had to hop off the other meeting. Did it wrap? Malibu meeting.
Sorry, who's speaking?
I don't know that any of us, the others of us from the Malibu meeting.
Oh, okay. That's why
Terry, you can mute them.
Aren't here, but
You can...
it was on the Calabasas.
Okay. So it's not fully lined. I just want to state for the record, the landfill is not fully lined. And what you're stating is that whatever debris, if ever, will come in from the fire, that will be put on the lined side. Now, can that move to the unlined side at one point? If there's an earthquake, if there's a fire, if there's something that happens, can that be Can that happen?
No, it cannot happen. It doesn't move laterally. If anything, it's just going to kind of settle. And so it's for the most part moving vertically. That's it.
Uh-huh. Okay, and who decides how you classify a landfill? Or what you classified as, or what it can receive? Who is in charge of that decision?
So generally, this is Wes Minderman from CalRecycle. Thanks again for your question, Aniko. So the primary agency that decides what waste a landfill can receive is the Regional Water Quality Control Board, and to some extent, the local enforcement agency. But the Regional Water Quality Control Board, through what they call their permit is called waste discharge requirements, is the one that specifies these are the types of waste that this facility can take.
Okay, good to know.
Are there any further questions?
One last question. One last question. When will fire debris from the homes in Malibu and the Palisades be moved to the Calabasas landfill?
Can we put a stop to it, at least temporarily, a pause until we get together and talk about it?
We're actively removing fire ash and debris from properties that have been impacted by these fires in Malibu and in Pacific Palisades this week. It's based on a process where we have to have EPA has to complete their phase first, and then we have to have a right of entry signed by the property owner. And once we get that right of entry from the county, then we put it on a runway and we schedule it for debris removal. So we are actively in phase 2 of private property debris removal. I can't tell you exactly which houses in Malibu have or haven't been started. It is a process that involves asbestos chip testing. So that has to happen first, and it has to get tested and sent off to a lab. So there's a number of steps that happen before you'll see actual debris being removed from a say a fire damaged home. But we do have active debris removal on numerous properties in the Palisades fire impacted area today.
No, I guess my question is, when will it be coming to the Calabasas landfill?
We have temporarily paused debris to the Calabasas landfill, and we would appreciate having a meeting quickly so we can work through this, provide the education, which I fully acknowledge after this discussion that we have not achieved with you and this community. But
nothing right
so I don't have a date. I don't have a
But
I don't have
nothing
a date
right
right
now.
now.
But nothing right now is coming.
No, nothing today or tomorrow or the next day is coming to Calabasas.
Great, thank you. That's the clearest information that I've received in weeks. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
So could we, as we conclude, could we request a motion to hold debris removal until the meeting with Mark Pastrella? And can we vote on that? Would that everybody be comfortable with that?
But can you repeat that, Penny?
So we will a motion to request a hold on debris removal until we have the meeting with Mark Pastrella to the Calabasas landfill.
Well, right, we're not in support of any debris removal coming at this point. So
yes, oh, so you don't want the mud and debris that's coming off the other roadways, that's not directly from the fire, where the landslides are occurring.
No, I mean, we want the roads cleared, but we were specifically talking about the fire debris.
Yeah, correct. So that's what I was saying. So there will be we will vote on a motion to hold any fire debris removal to the Calabasas landfill until we have the next meeting with Mark Pastrella. Does that make sense to you, Alicia?
Right. I just don't want it to be that after we have the meeting with Mark that we're okay with is Kindon, you're on the line, right?
It's council member.
just because of the action that we took yesterday, I just want to make sure it's consistent with what, before I vote on anything.
Yes, council member. I think the COG can make that request that no fire debris is transported to the Calabasas landfill. I don't know if the COG has any jurisdiction to enforce that. I think that's up to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. I don't know. That could come as a request, as a motion. I just don't know if it has any bearing.
And Alicia, would you consider opposing item number 29 that was continued to the next meeting?
Yes, but I don't think that's on our agenda to.
Well, okay, fine.
For Terry, yes, we oppose item number 29.
But we're not discussing that here, right? So how would you like to move forward? Hold on, Marianne, I see your hand raised.
Oh, I fully understand everybody's concern here, and I completely understand it. My biggest concern is, what is that going to do to the actual effort of debris removal within the city of Malibu? All of their alternative sites that can be utilized. I have to balance the needs of everybody's concerns, which of those I do respect and I do hold. But at the same time, my community is impacted and the oceans are impacted with this debris not being cleaned up on. We have over 200 sites on the ocean that were destroyed. And so I think it's paramount that we get those sites cleaned up as quickly as possible so we don't have continued debris.
I agree, but that hazardous debris is never coming to the Calabasas landfill. So that's not affected. That will continue. Am I correct?
Perhaps Colonel Swenson can address that question with the distinction between the household hazardous waste and the destroyed properties that have fire and ash and materials there.
So the Corps of Engineers is not doing, the EPA has the responsibility for the household hazardous material mission and disposal of that. So I think with the question that you pose is, or the conundrum you find yourself is, we need to use every available landfill that's permitted for fire, ash, and debris, and the various debris streams we're taking off of these properties in order to enable not only the Corps to do its mission that's been assigned to us from the federal government at the request of the state of California, in coordination with all of you and all of our partners. We cannot do that mission if we do not have access to designated landfills that are permitted to receive this material. And if our number of landfills is reduced, it'll only increase the cost, the time, and most importantly, the harm to the community by having this debris stay any additional time in an uncontrolled environment. So Malibu has concerns. There are concerns up and down the Pacific Palisades. And I know I don't need to remind you this, but the water that we share here, the water that we drink here, the air that we breathe here knows no boundaries, right? It knows no boundaries to political districts, jurisdictions, right? We have a mission. The state of California asked the federal government to ask the Corps to do this mission to help the people of California and the nation heal from the devastating wildfires that started on January 6th, 2025. And it is absolutely my mission in life right now to do this. I absolutely understand the fears that people have on this. I'm a father of 3 girls. I want nothing more than the best for my family. And I'm telling you, the best for everyone's family is to allow the Corps of Engineers to work with our partners here to remove the fire, ash, and debris as quickly and safely as possible and get it from an uncontrolled situation, right? Uncontrolled locations into a controlled environment designed to receive this type of debris safely. That is what we should all be focused on. And that is what I am passionate about. And that is what keeps me up at night and gets me out of bed in the morning, is taking care of this community so that your kids, the kids of all the residents who live in this community, can swim in the ocean free from hazards, can drink water free from hazards, can breathe the air free from hazards, knowing that we all suffered from this devastating wildfire, but we are doing everything we can as a community and as a community of leaders to ensure the long-term health of this community. So I will stop at nothing to make that a reality, and I hope that you're able to understand these challenges and balance all of the pressures to allow us to be able to use this landfill as one in our portfolio so that we can accomplish this mission as quickly as possible. And I assure you, as soon as we're done, we're going to ensure everything is tidied up and we are going to be out of here to allow this community, this greater community in greater LA County to heal from these wildfires.
Colonel Swenson.
Marianne, before we go, just one thing I wanted to tell to Marianne. Marianne, Mark Pastrella mentioned earlier in this meeting that there are 17, I repeat, 17 permitted sites that can take. So let the other 16 take them for now, please.
But also, I want to make certain we're not trying to say no Calabasas, go to Sunshine. We're saying that all of this should be considered hazardous debris. Get it out as quickly as possible so Malibu and the Palisades can rebuild. But Colonel Swenson, we invite you to Calabasas to see this landfill adjacent to a park where young children play, adjacent to schools. Literally, the landfill is in people's backyards. Everything you said about safety and air quality and water, that's what we're fighting for right now. We don't want to take the disaster in Malibu and the Palisades and bring it back to Calabasas. We want Malibu and the Palisades to rebuild as quickly as possible. We want all the debris to be categorized as hazardous, not to be bringing it to these neighborhood adjacent landfills. So I invite you to our community. We want to support Malibu. We want to help them rebuild. This isn't us against them. We're in this together for the safety and well-being of our entire region.
And Nico and Alicia, I 100% hear you. The Calabasas landfill, I'm sure, is in our watershed. So eventually, if anything were to happen there, it's going to end up right back on our neighborhood. So yeah. I completely support what you're saying, and I want the information available, and I want that spread out. I just want to make sure that it's not going to slow down the cleanup effort, because right now, everything's going into the ocean, and I want to make sure that our collective ocean is protected also. So we all have to work together, and I look forward to having this meeting with the county and hopefully state and federal leaders also, so we can get all the information out and we can move quickly to get this moved to the next stage.
Thank you very much.
So Penny, with that in mind,
yes.
I don't know that there's a motion that's needed from the COG.
I agree, because
I think we've made our
continuation. It'll be
we've made ourselves really clear, and I don't also want to put Calabasas in a weird spot where they've got to answer for a COG vote. So
yes,
I would just say we make sure we put that meeting on our calendar. And
great.
I for one think this has been incredibly productive today, and appreciate everybody's time.
I would like to thank everybody that's been here, because it is, there are so many different moving parts to this, and once everybody is satisfied, then we'll be able to come to a conclusion. So thank you, and I look forward to meeting with everybody again.
Yeah. Right. Alicia, how about our motion?
No, we don't need a motion. I think
we don't need a motion.
No, because we're going to, it's going to be a continuation.
I think the best information we learned from this call, that this week no fire debris is coming to the Calabasas landfill.
Correct.
So that's a big accomplishment from this meeting.
Thank you very much, everyone. So let me see where I am now. So we're now I'd like to thank everybody that came. We're going to continue with our meeting. You're welcome to stay on, but you don't have to if you're no longer involved in what we're discussing. And we're moving on to the Executive Director's report. I'd like to ask Terry to give his report.
Thank you. I did note for time, and I spoke with Hope Chrisman from the CPUC offline that she would defer her presentation that's on our agenda to next month, because I know we're running long, if that's okay.
Yes.
Okay. So obviously it's hard to follow this topic with just some of the mundane things that the COG is working on. But I would like to briefly report on our fiber network project. We had our committee that met with the company called Astound that submitted a proposal to operate, maintain, and expand the COG's fiber network once it's construction. And the construction that will be going, the bid package that will be submitted later this week, early next week, just depending on some of the fine tuning that's going on to it, will be for 30 days, and that will obviously be for the construction of the project that not only includes the conduit, but it does include the fiber and going by all of the signals in the COG region, over 67 signals. So this project is moving forward, and all of the cities have been meeting with me and the consultant on a weekly basis to continue to provide input to the consultant to make sure that the bid package is as complete as possible. And I appreciate Agoura Hills Public Works Department and Charmaine specifically for coordinating the bid placement on Planet Bids for us. So I think that we're in really good shape there. I know that Jory's online, and we did plan for some additional discussion on this, but I don't think that it's anything that can't wait. I know that we're like running long as far as the meeting goes. So I will provide some additional information to you on this project, but suffice to say, we're in good shape and moving forward on that project. I did speak with the city managers earlier this month regarding the Southern California Edison PSP task force that we discussed, and the city managers have recommended that I work with contract cities, Cal cities, and some other COGs to collaborate to see if we can put together a larger group, because there are other areas affected with that. So I have reached out to those agencies. I don't think that I need to highlight the meeting with Metro tonight. We're doing the homeless count. I'm coordinating it at the Calabasas Senior Citizens Center. I appreciate Calabasas hosting again and allowing us to coordinate out of that location. And just a quick reminder about, I have received a couple of the Form 700 filings, but for the new members of our board, you need to add the COG as an additional agency. And that concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Terry? No? I'd like to now jump ahead before we have the city updates, because they've been on the call for so long. If it's all right, we'll move on to the public safety, legislative, and agency partner updates first. So I don't know if, do we still have Captain C2 with us? Probably not. Okay. Do we have Chief Smith from the fire department? Nope. Okay. Do we have, let's see, LA County, who's representing? Oh, Daniel, are you still with us? Anybody from Supervisor Horvath's office? No. Anybody? I know the CHP officer Sturgis put his report into the chat, so you can all see that there. Jeff, you persevered through this. Would you?
I really appreciated being on this call and being able to hear that discussion. I think it was really helpful. Unless there are important questions for me about my report, I'm happy to let it stand on my own. The only thing I wanted to highlight is our City Leaders Summit, which is coming up in April. It's our lobby trip to Sacramento. I'll put a link to that in the chat, but I'm always happy to answer questions, but I just appreciate the conversation today.
Thank you, Jeff. Any questions for Jeff? Okay. And then updates from legislative staff and agency partners. So who do we have left? Nancy, do you want to go first?
Actually, in the interest of time, I'm not going to talk about legislation. We can get into that because we all know it's such a long process. I will mention especially for Malibu, the $4 million that helps permitting information and the how-tos is supposed to be coming out last week. I believe it has not yet. And hopefully this week you will have more information on that to help you move forward. This has been an amazing conversation. Every night of my life has, since the fire, has been on an evening meeting, gathering all of these facts. And today, as though we are all still frustrated, I believe a lot of information has come into one place, and it will continue forward to get what we need for our communities. So thank you. And I'm assuming it's you, Terry, who brought everybody together.
It was President Sylvester's direction to me.
Yes! Thank you for doing this. I mean, it puts everything in one focal point, and it's totally appreciated. And please, as always, reach out if there is anything specific you need answered. But we'll be here with you listening and figuring out whatever we can do to help throughout the rest of the way.
Thank you so much. Sam, do you want to speak for Senator Ben Allen?
Yeah, thank you guys for having us on. I echo everything that Nancy said too. We are working on a lot of wildfire-related bills that we can share at a different meeting. But yeah, please, we've been contacted all weekend about this issue, so I'm glad we're moving forward with some resolution.
Thank you. Do we have any other agency partners on? And then I realized I apologize to, are we doing the CPUC report, Terry?
I think we're going to, Hope has agreed to do it next month. So
Great.
Because of the time.
Okay, if there's no other partners, then we will move to the cities. So I would move to Agoura Hills. Do we still have Nate on?
Yes, thank you, Chair Sylvester. Thank you, everybody, for the conversation today. I'll keep it very brief. Just for Agoura Hills, we have been working on a lot of our safety element updates and home hardening programs. So we'll continue to focus this month on that and just educating the public and trying to help people improve the safety around their homes and brush clearance. And then just a couple of park projects that we're working on. And the final thing I'll just highlight, we had a successful Ladyface Film Festival, and Chair Sylvester was instrumental in making that happen. It was a great success, and we hope to continue that in the future years coming. So with that, Chair Sylvester, if you want to add anything, I'll leave it to you.
No, I think you've covered us. Thank you. Kindon, Calabasas.
Good morning, all, and thank you all for being so attentive to this issue that really affects Calabasas and all of us. It means a lot. We've been focused on this for weeks with a lot of a lack of clear information, and so we're very appreciative of what was happening today. I think just to put in perspective, I think for the group, after 9/11, I think there was about 1.8 million tons of fire debris. What we've heard from the Army Corps of Engineers is we're dealing with 4.5 million tons of fire debris associated with the Palisades fire and Eaton fires. That's a lot of debris that needs to be moved. And we're now 20 something years, 23, 24 years after 9/11, realizing what happened as a result of the toxins and hazardous materials that were in that debris. And what we don't want to have happen is we don't want one disaster to lead to another disaster in the future. That's our goal. And I think we share that. Other than that, I just want to thank each of our COG cities. We've been working on different things. The Calabasas Agoura Hills Community Center had its last board meeting at the end of January. And so officially that has been transferred over completely to the city of Calabasas. We appreciate Agoura Hills for all of their support over the years, and especially in this last phase as they secured federal funding to help fix up the facility. And as a note, we have been working on an annexation, and that the tax sharing agreement is scheduled to go to the Board of Supervisors next month. We appreciate the help from Hidden Hills on that effort and look forward for that annexation that will go forward that will benefit both communities on that. Other than that, I don't have anything else. And Councilmember Weintraub, I turn to you if you wanted to add anything.
I just want to say thank you for the COG for discussing this today. This has been a frustrating process getting answers, but the saving grace has been the connection to my colleagues in the other cities and the open line of communication with Daniel and Nancy and Jackie and Ben. So I'm really grateful for everything that the COG does, and Terry for putting this together, and Penny. This is literally the most information and answers that we've gotten. So I'm very appreciative for that.
Thank you. Gloria, Hidden Hills.
Good morning, everyone. Just with the same sentiment, Hidden Hills City Council had a special meeting this Sunday to approve an opposition letter to support Calabasas through this process. So Hidden Hills City Council is very committed to this as well. Just lastly, we're excited to announce that the city has received a $1.3 million grant from FEMA. And tomorrow, Congressman Brad Sherman will be at our city hall at 12 noon to conduct a press release and present the check over to Hidden Hills for a future undergrounding project. So you're all invited. Councilmember Gold, I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to add.
No, obviously, we are very happy about the big check, and I get to hold one finally. First time in my life. And I just wanted to express how grateful I am for the COG, and that we get to come together and advocate for our region, because the environment is a value that we all share, and we have to protect it. So and these decisions will have far-reaching consequences way after all of us will be off COG or off our city council. So we have to proceed very carefully and thoughtfully. So thank you to all of you.
Thank you. Joe, Malibu. Do we have Malibu? Nobody?
I'm Halen. I'm so sorry for everything. I just can't. Okay, there's Marianne. I just can't speak because of Brown Act issues, but I'm listening to everything.
Okay, Marianne, do you want to say anything?
Well, right now, I mean, obviously our city is dealing with the effects of the Palisades fire. We also had some pretty significant flooding from the rain event over the weekend. So we're in cleanup mode from the mud and such. As of yet, I haven't been notified about any serious infrastructure issues, but we are continuing to clean up. So I'm sure there will be some discoveries of things. We're doing our best to work with our partner agencies. And I too appreciate the COG. I hear everything that everyone here is saying. And Penny, thank you very much for working with Terry to organize having the experts to provide us the information that we're all concerned about.
Thank you. Rob, is Rob on from Westlake? Do we have a Westlake?
Rob is not on today. I'm Caleb Mott, assistant to the city manager, here with Josephine Wilson, who is our assistant city manager. Our update will be brief. The last weather event we had last week, we handled pretty well outside of some flooding on Trento Canyon Road, and a big thank you to LA County Public Works for responding so quickly to get that resolved. Couple new businesses have opened up in Westlake Village we're excited about. Big one is the Ridge, a senior living facility that offers a variety of different care levels, including memory care. And then 2 coffee shops, High Buy Coffee, which is an organic, vegan-friendly coffee shop. And then, of course, Starbucks that everyone is very excited for. In terms of big business items, we are kicking off our strategic planning process, and recruitment is underway for our Citizens Advisory Committee. So this will be one of the big documents we'll be working on through 2025. We are also in the middle of our ADA transition plan update and conducting public outreach to get insight from the community on ways to improve accessibility in Westlake Village. And soon we will be breaking ground on an entry monument sign at our beautiful community park on Thousand Oaks Boulevard. And lastly, we will be discussing e-bike regulations with our public safety committee this Thursday. So a couple exciting things coming out of Westlake Village. And then we will check with Councilmember Pearl on anything we might have missed.
Great job, Caleb. Thank you. I would just want to echo Penny and Terry. Thank you. There's so much going on surrounding us, and to have everybody on today to talk about what's happening in Calabasas and Malibu, I just really appreciate the opportunity to hear from those experts. So appreciate the work in making that happen. Kelly, anything from you?
No, great.
That's it.
I would also like to thank, I see Mark McCalman is still on the line listening to us from FEMA. I met with Mark over the weekend, and he was really instrumental in getting a lot of the representatives on this Zoom call today. So thank you so much, Mark. I think this shows why the COG is so important, because we can all work together to find the best solutions for our community. I think there's been a lot of misinformation, and going forward, I hope everybody's questions will be answered and people will be reassured about how we're proceeding. So I'm looking forward to the next meeting to take it further. So are there any comments or requests for future agenda items? Seeing none. The Technical Advisory Committee will meet next week on March the 5th, and the next Governing Board meeting will be March the 18th. If there's no further business, the meeting is now. Yes.
Penny, excuse me, it's Mark McCalman with FEMA.
Okay.
I just wanted to say it's been my pleasure to work with you, and I've met a number of the other elected officials, and I look forward to meeting some of you additional ones as time goes forward. I just want you to let you know that I will be the point of contact for those list of questions that you all come up together with. If you would funnel those through me, I'll make sure that our PIO and that they make it through the stream toward the process that she described.
Great.
So,
and Mark,
thanks for
if you could put your email into the chat so everybody has it.
it's there.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. Okay, if there is no further business, we are now adjourned. Thank you so much, everybody.